It's another Friday night in June, and the NFC West Huddle rolls along as we hear from our experts from around the division. I'm Alyssa Charleston-Smith in Seattle, joined by Richard Sines in Phoenix and Keyshawn Ward in San Francisco. You guys, I've missed you. It's been too long. It's been months.
Yeah, we missed you too.
Missed you too.
I missed my background, but I promise I'll get it next time. We had to mix things up. I'm in the sports office. I got my glasses on, but we're here. We're ready to go.
We're getting the full behind the scenes over there in Phoenix. You love to see it. And Los Angeles, they will have representation here next week. But for now, we're just giving them another week off. It's summer, vacation. You know, they're accruing a lot of those vacation days. I want to start tonight with the running back unit. Rankings from Pro Football Focus were released this week. They ranked all 32 teams. And I swear I didn't just choose this topic because the Seahawks are ranked the highest in the NFC West at number 5. I just thought it was interesting with so much newness. So, Richard, your Arizona Cardinals also came in top 10 at number 9. Keyshawn, the 49ers ranked number 12. So, Richard, let's start with you. Are you surprised with any of these running back unit rankings?
Well, first, before we get into the running back room, I know you're a baller, right? A basketball player. And since you're getting a look into the sports office, Keyshawn saw this last time. This is the Media Challenge trophy that I brought home to Fox 10. So we hope here at Fox 10, just so you know. This is for the Mercury Media Challenge. So just letting you know, we can hoop too. But yes, the Cardinals can run the football, and that's what they've done, right? When you got a guy like James Conner and a head coach like Jonathan Gannon, they love that smash mouth, right? Punch you in the mouth type of offense, set up the passing game, the play action pass with the run. So I'm not surprised to see the Cardinals ranked pretty high in this category. But what I am surprised about is the lack of respect that Keyshawn and San Francisco are getting, because they got Christian McCaffrey, who helped the Chimichangas, my fantasy team, win a Super Bowl not too long ago, and they like to run the ball too. So I was a little surprised at the lack of respect San Francisco was getting, but it's nice to see the Cardinals get some respect for a change.
Yeah, Keyshawn, what do you think?
Listen, I can tell you right now, I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. Here's why. So, yes, Christian McCaffrey had an injury-ridiculed season last year. He missed a bunch of games, and he's 29 years old. So maybe the voters or whoever made this list, they don't think he might be the same. But I'm going to remain optimistic because McCaffrey had a goal set in mind. He wanted to be a full participant throughout the entire OTA, and he accomplished that goal. Now, unless he becomes the next Todd Gurley, I just can't see a healthy McCaffrey having a complete fall-off to where his running back unit's ranked 12th in the entire NFL. So I can't really see that. But also get into the depth of the 49ers running back room. They also have Isaac Guerrero, who had 572 yards, scrimmage yards, with 4 touchdowns as a third-string running back. You know, anybody that plays in Kyle Shanahan's system, the running backs flourish and possibly get 1,000 yards every time they play in that system every year. So I'm kind of surprised, but I'm not, because it's like the Niners had a lot of injuries last year with, you know, the bell cow back, who Christian McCaffrey is. They got to see him do it after his injury season, which I think he will. And also, lastly, the Niners have a running back come from the University of Oregon by the name of Jordan James, who recorded a 95.7 rating in Pro Football Focus. So, hey, voters, keep in mind, the Niners will be back with rushing that ball.
Yeah, and a late-round pick. We remember watching Jordan James up here, Washington versus Oregon. He just caused headaches, and I'm excited to see what he does. But Isaac Guerrero also caused a lot of trauma up here in Seattle when the Niners were down to like their backup, and they still were running all over the Seahawks. So I was also surprised that the Niners came in at number 12 because it's also Kyle Shanahan. That offense always finds a way to make it work. And I did hear George Kittle speak on the Pardon My Take podcast, and he was talking about Christian McCaffrey maybe prime for his best season yet. He's aggressive. He's like ready to get back. He's obviously had a lot of the rest of this time for his body to rest. So I was surprised about that. Richard, I'm surprised the Seahawks were ahead of the Arizona Cardinals simply because of James Conner. That's a dude that averaged 4.6 yards a carry last year. They gave a lot of respect in Pro Football Focus's article to Kenneth Walker. And that is a guy that, you know, has had some good seasons with Seattle, but he averaged 3.7 yards per carry last year. He only played in 11 games. And then you're kind of relying on the other guys, Zach Charbonnet and maybe Damian Martinez, maybe Kenny McIntosh. Martinez is exciting because obviously a guy out of Miami and before that Oregon State. Husky fans also remember the Beavers running back, Damian Martinez, running all over Husky Stadium. So I am really intrigued by getting that number 5 ranking for the Seahawks, because the offensive line is, we all know, that is the most important factor when it comes to a successful running back. And this Seahawks offensive line hasn't been much to speak of in years. And you also have a new offensive coordinator. I think that might be why they got the number 5 ranking, honestly, because Clint Kubiak has been spewing nothing but running back, hopefully not propaganda. He's telling his team, like, we're not just going to talk about being a running team. We're going to be about being a running team. You hear Abe Lucas, offensive lineman, saying we don't have a choice other than that. It's like a non-negotiable when they came in. So I am curious to see if they are able to put something together this year. And I love the Todd Gurley, a little bit of a Todd Gurley shade comment there from Keyshawn, because LA's not here. We can say whatever we want about them. And they're not even really members of this topic, because the Rams are ranked 23rd in these Pro Football Focus rankings. Any reaction from either of you on the Rams being ranked 23rd?
That's what they get for not being here.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. But, I also want to go back to the Seahawks being ranked so high in the run game. It's because of your quarterback, Sam Darnold's not that guy, just like Geno Smith wasn't that guy, right? So you guys are going to have to run the ball. So it's kind of like a backhanded compliment for you guys. We're like, yeah, your running game's going to be good because your passing game's not going to be there. So, Geno Smith's not that guy, of course, unless he plays the Cardinals, right? That's what happens. When last year he was horrible until he played the Cardinals, and he swept the Arizona Cardinals. But yeah, you guys are going to have to run the ball, because if you put yourselves in obvious passing situations, it's not going to be good for Seattle. But yeah, we can talk bad about LA all day long if they're not here, right? I mean, if they're not here, why not?
Right.
Those are the rules. Keyshawn, anything to add?
Yeah, with the Rams being ranked 23rd, I actually had to rephrase my answer. I'm not really surprised, because outside of Kyron Williams, they don't really have a lot of depth. I mean, they had a lot of confidence going into last season with Blake Corum, the guy from the University of Michigan, but he's just having a lot of carries, and that's why they made another draft pick this past draft with Jarquez Hunter from the University of Auburn. So clearly they're looking for a second string running back in that running back room, because outside of Kyron Williams, they're not getting not much to work with. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Rams will improve this upcoming season.
All right, let's dive into our next topic. And I don't ask it to be mean. I ask it from a production standpoint. Who is the most overpaid player on the roster of the team you cover? A few years ago for the Seahawks, I absolutely would have said Jamal Adams. Too many injuries, not enough production when healthy, and he created some off-field drama at times as well. But let's start with San Francisco. Keyshawn Ward, I want to know who you think might be the most overpaid player on the 49ers.
So, Alyssa and Richard, I think the overall consensus around the Bay Area, they're probably going to say Brandon Ayuk, but I'm going to say give him some time. Let me see him let me see how he performs outside, his injury-ridiculed season last year, tearing his ACL. So let's give him time. So the guy who's right after him will be Nick Bosa. Yes, that's a shocker to a lot of people because, 2 or 3 years ago, Nick Bosa was the Defensive Player of the Year, but ever since he got paid in 2023, his sack production has dropped. So he went from, getting 18 to 15 sacks a season to 10 to 9. And if you notice, it's like Nick Bosa's not really getting used to being double-teamed and chipped by the running backs all the time. But it's like, hey, man, more money, more problems. If you don't get paid top dollar in the NFL, you got to figure it out. Michael Parsons does it. Myles Garrett does it. T.J. Watt. The list goes on. But I just, got to see a little bit more. But granted, Nick Bosa did deal with a lot of injuries last year. I know it's a lot going on with the Niners with injuries. It's the same thing we talk about every week on this show, Niners injuries. But, hey, Nick Bosa got paid all that money. Where's the production? So if you by the question that you're asking me, I know you're not trying to say it in a mean way, but, hey, I'm sure Niner fans want to see more out of their former Defensive Player of the Year and Nick Bosa.
Ooh, spicy. I like it. I didn't know the question was going to even go there. I mean, Nick Bosa, just from a production standpoint, in the past few years has been a terror. But you're right. I mean, when you really look at it, especially the last few, it's kind of dropped off. And that is why I asked the question. Richard, any reaction to that? And then who is the most overpaid player on the Cardinals?
Well, I love the Keyshawn quote, "More money, more problems," because that's my problem. I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind, So I know how I feel. And when you're talking about these guys being overpaid, they're all overpaid. Are you kidding me? I mean, they get paid millions of dollars to play a game. When you see the toys that they have that they're buying all kinds of extra stuff. They're overpaid, right? Oh, here, my toys, you can see behind me, I have a Rock'em Sock'em Robots. That's the kind of budget. I got like a boxing nun. These are the toys that I have, right? You're getting a look into my desk here. This is the kind of stuff I have. Very productive desk. It's not clean because they say most geniuses have a messy desk, so I keep mine messy on purpose. So, yeah, those are the kind of toys I have. So they're all overpaid, for one. Let's just get that out of the way. But like you said, for a production standpoint, I would have to go with Justin Jones, the defensive tackle for the Arizona Cardinals, because he hasn't really been healthy enough to be productive. He played, 4 games last year? That's he's getting $10 million a year. That's $2.5 million a game. I could do that for half the price. I could get in somebody's way and get at least 1 tackle a game for $1 million bucks. So, but again, I think they're all overpaid. But when it comes to production, Justin Jones is the guy with the Cardinals. But that could change if he's healthy, because he has been able to be productive in the past with the Chargers. Still would like to see a Pro Bowl for this guy as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, you better be praying with that nun that you survive taking 1 tackle or creating 1 tackle in an NFL game.
I wouldn't need her. We needed the last rites for the boxing nun.
I just imagine you walking around the office or around any random dollar store and being like, that's the prop I'm going to bring into NFC West Huddle today.
When people bring their kids in, this is what I bring out, and the kids are like, "Oh, what's wrong with that man, Mom?"
Well, a whole lot more questions than answers, I'm sure, after meeting you. But we love it. You bring so much color and life to the show. Okay, for the Seahawks, I have to go with tight end Noah Fant. And I honestly like the guy interview-wise. Both of you probably know how hard it is to get players after games, especially when they lose, to open up and give you some detail. He's always willing to talk, so I have to give him credit there. But Fant is the 2nd largest cap hit for the Seahawks in 2025 right now. We'll see if there's any restructuring of his deal, but he's heading into the final year of his contract. Right now, he's set to make $13.4 million, according to Spotrac this season. And when you look at his last even 31 games, Fant has 1 touchdown. Last season, that's when he got it, and he ranked 18th among all tight ends. When you look at receiving yards, he had about 500. He only had 3 catches of 20-plus yards, and in seasons past, you'd hope he'd go off for maybe 3 or 4 of those at least in a season, and he has the ability to be a yards after contact kind of tight end. He came into the league as a better prospect than even George Kittle. So when you look at the potential and the numbers that he's making right now in terms of the production, there's just a lack of production. He could improve, however, under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, who I already mentioned. He's got a track record of utilizing tight ends like crazy. You just also have roster competition. A.J. Barner was a rookie last year, far more productive than Fant, had 4 touchdowns. Elijah Arroyo coming in out of Miami as a 2nd-round pick. He's a great pass-catching tight end, so we will see. But right now, Fant, heading into the final year of his contract, not going to be easy when you look at the amount of production you need to see out of him coming up. All right, next up, it's prediction time. 2025 was not touted as a good quarterback draft class. Cam Ward was drafted #1 overall by the Tennessee Titans. He's a former Coug and then transferred to the University of Miami. But in any other year, I don't think he goes as high. So my question to each of you, which quarterback do you think will have the best rookie season this year? Obviously, we're going with guys that have a clear shot to start. So guys like Jackson Dart maybe don't have a clear path to start, but whoever you want to go with, I mentioned Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck at New Orleans, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, the battle in Cleveland. Richard, who do you believe in this year?
Well, first of all, how dare you disrespect Cam Ward? That's my guy. Well, because before he was a Coug, he was a Cardinal. He played at the University of Cardinal Word, my alma mater. So this is the funny thing, is that we're claiming him at a Cardinal Word because when he was coming out of high school, he had no offers, and his mom sent out his tape. And in Cardinal Word, my school, a small Catholic school, that's why I have the boxing nun. said, "Hey, we'll take you." And then next thing you know, he becomes a Coug. Then he goes to Miami. Now he's the #1 pick. So I think he's going to have a great year. I think he's got the best year of all the rookies, not just because he went to a Cardinal Word and we're all praying for him, but because I think he's got a best system. It's a team that it's not as bad as you would think. They would have the #1 pick. They have a coach in Brian Callahan, who's been successful, on the offensive side of the football before. And so I like his attitude. He always seems to be saying the right things. He's talking about working his butt off, and I think it's going to pay off for him. And I think he's going to have a very good rookie year.
All right, Keyshawn, which quarterback do you believe in most in his rookie season?
Alyssa, can we ask this question after the preseason? Because, just by the names that you just mentioned, I got to go with Cam Ward by default because, with Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, it's a whole quarterback fiasco down there, as you mentioned, with the quarterback competition, and we don't know who's going to be starting for them. But my answer is Cam Ward, simply what Richard just mentioned. It's the best system for out of all the quarterbacks in this draft. Because this Titans team was in a lot of one-possession games, but thanks to Will Levis having boneheaded mistakes, they lost a lot of those games. So I just think Cam Ward, a mature guy at his age, I think he's going to get the Titans a little more wins. I'm not going to say they're going to be a double-digit win team, but I could see them improving by 3 or 4 wins at least. But, granted, with this system that Cam's in, he has a competent backfield, with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, a proven #1 or #2 wide receiver in Calvin Ridley on the outside, 1,000-yard receivers year in and year out, and then also having a savvy vet, a former Seahawk,
yeah.
Tyler Lockett. That's going to be a surefire pick for that team as well. And then he's going to have his sure catching receiver from the University of Miami, Xavier Restrepo. Excuse me, I said his name incorrectly. But, he brought him down there, give him the opportunity to make the NFL team with the Titans. So I just think Cam's in a great situation. And plus, in the AFC South, outside of the Houston Texans, there's not really a team that should really scare Cam. So I think he'll have an opportunity to not only compete in that division, and also being the best rookie quarterback. But I'm going to give y'all some context. If my boy Shedeur Sanders gets a start by week 7, hey, be ready to throw up the watch and look at the Shedeur because he'll be a great quarterback for the Cleveland Browns if he gets the opportunity.
Shedeur needs to stop looking at his watch or look at his speedometer and not be speaking on the high. What's going on with that?
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Your car. How about that?
You set him up for it, Keyshawn.
Oh,
101 miles an hour.
I know.
Not great. Not a great start.
Yeah, I ain't gonna. Alyssa, I'm not gonna defend him for that. He should know better. Because in this situation he's in right now, as a 5th-round draft pick, you can't make no mistakes like that, especially off the field. Yeah, so I can't defend him on that one.
Right.
But you know what? I will give him credit. He handled the stop perfectly. He wasn't a knucklehead. He did what he was told to do, and there was no issues with the stop. But yeah, 101. Stop looking at your watch. Look at the speedometer.
And his whole career at Colorado, he didn't get into any trouble there. So it's not really like it's a repeating pattern. And exactly. I am interested to see what that competition works out. But I'm really glad that we have such creativity, both of you guys going with the #1 overall pick to be, the best performing rookie quarterback. I'm going to go a little bit more nuanced.
That's sarcasm for people watching. That's sarcasm. I can sense it.
Dripping in sarcasm. No, but you guys do have fair points. And especially when you bring up Tyler Lockett, the veteran that Cam Ward will have to throw to. You cannot get a better guy in the locker room, especially when it comes to leadership, how to lead a team, how to react afterward. I think he's just surrounded by greatness, truly, with Tyler Lockett alone. For me, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it's between Dylan Gabriel and Tyler Shough. Now, Shough was basically handpicked by the Saints' new head coach, Kellen Moore, who was the Philadelphia Eagles OC, Super Bowl champs last year. Shough also has 7 years of college quarterbacking experience, so I'm interested to see how that works out in New Orleans. They have some weapons. I also like Dylan Gabriel just because I watched him a ton at the University of Oregon, and I know that Husky fans won't like to cheer on a Duck, but he was phenomenal. And you talk about maturity. This guy is more than poised to be a starting quarterback in the league because he is also, I believe, 23 coming into this season. Handled the Ducks being undefeated almost all season. They didn't show up in the college football playoff. I know that. But he's mature, he's super quick, and he makes really good decisions. I just thought he was really impressive. Seeing him in person and talking to him, I'm a believer in Dylan Gabriel winning that job. And again, I think he and Shedeur Sanders, they're going to battle it out. They're going to duke it out. But Sanders starting off on the wrong foot is going to put him behind the arc just a little bit overall. No matter what, it's a fun conversation.
Listen, let me respond to that. I had to. I'm not trying to make this into a first take show, but I gotta have a response to that.
Love it.
You telling me after what Shedeur did at Colorado, before the draft happened, he was either going to be the number 1 or number 2 overall pick. But you're telling me that Dillon Gabriel, a guy who had a 6th round, 7th round, or even undrafted grade last year, I even talked to Duck fans, they didn't think he was an NFL quarterback. You're telling me he's going to beat out Shedeur Sanders?
He's a winner.
A guy who's...
Shedeur Sanders was not a winner at the end of his career.
I think that's more of the Oregon team, though. I don't think that's Dillon Gabriel, because they won without Dillon the year before. So, I don't know if that's really a really solid response to that. And then I'm just going off traits and alone. Shedeur's been the most accurate quarterback. I know he throws a lot of screen passes, but the guy knows how to fit the ball in tight spaces. And then it's not really a great example because OTAs, it's not really no pass rush coming at Shedeur, but based on those numbers they kept posting every day on Twitter or X, Shedeur was the most accurate quarterback even in that situation, because I think Dillon had the most interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know about that one.
He didn't lead anything. Who was drafted first?
And you can't
NFL
really you can't talk about when a guy was drafted or what round they were drafted, because Tom Brady was a 6th round draft pick. Kurt Warner wasn't drafted at all.
That's true.
So you can't really trust it. You just say, this guy's drafted the 6th round, he can't be a starter. It can happen. It can happen.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm more saying like the fact that we went through an entire draft process, and ever since Deion Sanders spoke throughout Super Bowl week, where he was saying like, oh, Shedeur not going to these certain teams, whether it's the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans, it kind of put his son in a bad position, because the teams are like, oh, we're not going to take that circus with the Sanders family. I think that's more the reason why he dropped in the draft. Now, that's a theory of mine. It might not be a fact, but throughout the entire draft process, I did not see not one scout or none of these talking heads on TV say Dillon Gabriel will be drafted before Shedeur Sanders. I didn't see it.
No.
And I think overall, even Cleveland Brown fans, they were shocked that Dillon was taken that early. So I'm just going off what I've been reading on Twitter and what I've been seeing on a lot of these stories that come online and on TV. I don't think it didn't make sense that Dillon was chosen in the 3rd round. I'm just going off that.
And that's fair. But I think there's also an argument, and there were reports that Shedeur's interviews didn't go well. So it's not just his dad being a potential problem, which I'm sure is intimidating to try and grab Deion Sanders' son, feeling like the pressure, you have to start him. But I think there's something more to why he dropped, and the reason why they went for Dillon Gabriel even before. Again, draft order maybe doesn't matter. I totally take your points, and I think it's fair. In terms of success and wow and potential, Shedeur has a ton of exciting potential. We do have to move on to the next topic. Maybe we'll bring it back if one of them has, whoever wins this quarterback battle, we're going to revisit this, Keyshawn. No doubt about it.
Yeah, okay.
All right, now we have to address some recent comments from the San Francisco 49ers general manager, John Lynch. Keyshawn, we're going right back to you. Lynch said to NBC Sports Bay Area, quote, "We will be a younger team. It's a young man's game, but you're probably going to take some lumps. It's going to take some time. You're going to make some mistakes. Just a reality." All of those things said by Lynch. Is he setting the bar low for the 49ers this year?
Alyssa, absolutely not. With this cupcake schedule, I guarantee you Lynch expects to get at least 10 wins to get into the wild card round this year, because, the Niners, they're on the quest for 6, as they always say every year. But no, this team was getting long in the tooth and getting pretty expensive in the book. So I think that, drafting a lot of these rookies on defense, it kind of could give them more depth and more speed at every level of the defense. So, no, I don't think that, John Lynch expects the Niner fans to just think that, oh, since we're so young, we're not going to have a lot of wins. No. With this schedule, they better have at least 10 wins. They better. Because I guarantee you there's going to be some jobs being questioned if the Niners don't do well this upcoming season.
All right. I love to hear it. I think the over-under for Vegas is like 10.5. So We will see. Richard, quickly, I'm curious what you hear out of John Lynch and the GM of a team that, frankly, has dominated this division. The San Francisco 49ers have dominated the division more often than not when you look at the past 8 to 10 years.
I hear the adults on the Charlie Brown show. It's like, wah, 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 wah. I'm not listening to what he's saying. He's sandbagging is what he's doing. He's trying to set us up. I'm with Keyshawn. They're going to win double-digit games. I'm not buying it. He's sandbagging. Wah, 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 whatever. Keep talking.
It is an interesting topic, no doubt, because there is so much youth on this team. And Keyshawn, like you said, they had to let go of some big-time contracts. I am very curious to see if they are able to use that youth and groom them the right way. It seems like they have a lot of guys that are able to lead some of those younger players. But Keyshawn, quickly, last word. Of those young guys, is there somebody that could stand out this year that they really brought in to be a big-time role changer in about 15, 20 seconds?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the first-round overall pick this past year, Mike Hill, out of the University of Georgia. That guy will help Nick Bosa relieve some pressure because, you got to worry about this young whippersnapper out of Michael Williams, bringing pressure off the other side, and that'll give Nick Bosa more time to get one-on-ones and get more production in the sacks.
All right, a lot to look forward to. Thank you both. It's so good to reunite, even if we're arguing about 20-year-old quarterbacks starting in the league this year. It's all fun. Richard, Keyshawn, you guys are the best. And we'll wrap around NFC West. We'll see you both next week.